Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, I apologize for that. You know, sometimes these Zoom things, that's a lot of technology trying to make all these connections. Well, good evening, everyone. It is 7:16 on Wednesday, December 8th, and I will call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting of the Aberdeen City Council. We will start with a roll call, please.
Andrews?
Here.
Ellis?
Here.
Francie?
Here.
Thank you. Gordon?
Here.
Kochman?
Here.
Mackey?
Here.
Meskis?
Present.
Richrod?
Here.
Ross?
Here.
Shaw?
Here.
Short?
Here.
Taylor?
Here.
Shave?
Here.
Thank you.
So I don't see any guest speakers on the agenda, but I will point out that we have an executive session scheduled at 7:30. So we'll just continue with our meeting until we hit 7:30 when we'll adjourn to an executive session. So recess. Thank you, Mayor. We've both done that now, right?
Many times.
So first we'll call on our Community Development Director, Lisa Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. I have two items on the agenda this evening. The first one is a public hearing for the 2021 Comprehensive Land Use Plan. And then also on the agenda tonight is the first reading of an ordinance for the readjustment of the ward boundaries. Something we do every 10 years based on census information, and we finally got up the census data in this year. It was a little late. The wards were adjusted slightly to make them more even in population. We will be sending out the, I was asked today by Finance Chair Katie Catchman to send out the current zoning map to see where those changes were. It didn't impact anybody currently sitting on council, nor anyone that ran for council or won their seat. So again, minor changes, but we did even the wards up. We did see a slight population increase, and we are looking at another increase in 22. So that's good news. We're trending up, probably not enough to make a dent in what we receive in funding, but I like to see that trend going up. So if you have any questions, I'm available. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate Councilmember Cashman's question about more specificity on where exactly the changes are being made, because while I appreciate the staff report, it is a council responsibility to redistrict. And so we just need to make sure that we all have the information to see exactly, where the changes were. Does anyone have any questions for our Community Development Director, Councilmember Ellis?
Yeah, Director Scott, I'm getting a number of citizen emails concerned about illegal dumping and overflowing garbage cans. What's the best way for them to get that information to your office? Is it the citizen action form?
Yes, it is the portal online. That is the best, because what it will do is it will log it in as a case, and it'll get assigned a case number, and we'll go out to investigate.
Oh, super. And if someone is actually witnessing illegal dumping, does it make sense to call the police for that?
Steve is on the line. I would say absolutely. I'm not positive. Steve, do you, Chief Shoemate, do you know whether or not it would be beneficial to have a picture of that, or?
So I will just say, if any of our citizens witness any type of crime, and illegal dumping is obviously a crime, to call the dispatch center. preferably the non-emergency number 360-533-8765. If they can't remember that, just dial 911. They'll ask if it's an emergency. And yes, by all means, the more information we can get, if there's license plates, things of that nature, but we always caution our citizens, don't put yourselves in harm's way in order to try to get this information.
Awesome. Thank you very much, both of you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any questions for our Community Development Director? Seeing none. Next, I see he's on our call tonight. We have our interim Corporation Counsel, Jeff Myers. Do you have anything for us tonight?
Good evening. I do not have anything to bring forward to the Committee of the Whole tonight.
Thank you. Next, oh gosh, she's on the call. I see our judge, Susan Solon. Do you have anything for us tonight?
Good evening. Well, it's my understanding that the appointment is on for tonight.
It is.
Okay.
Are you here to advocate?
I'm just here to be present.
Well, we really always appreciate when you can take the time. We know that you've got a lot going on, so thank you for being here tonight.
Absolutely.
Does anyone have any questions for our judge? Seeing none, thank you. Next is our Finance Director, Patricia Soul.
Thank you. Finance Committee met tonight at 6 p.m. and I will defer comments to our Finance Committee Chair, Katie Cashman. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for our Finance Director? Seeing none, we will turn next to our Fire Chief, Hubbard. Welcome, Chief.
Good evening, Tom Hubbard, Fire Chief, Aberdeen Fire Department. Public Safety did meet at 6:30 tonight, and I will defer those comments to Council Chair Andrews. I do have a prepared statement to read, though. It is with heavy hearts that we announce the passing of Aberdeen Fire Department Engineer Paramedic Chad Mittleiter on December 2nd, 2021, following his 24-hour shift. Engineer Paramedic Mittleiter served with the Aberdeen Fire Department for 22 years. He was a valued member of the department who served with professionalism and compassion. His contributions to the department, the fire service, and the community are numerous, and his legacy of selfless service will not be forgotten. Engineer Paramedic Mittleiter's public memorial service will be held on January 15th, 2022 at the Aberdeen High School Auditorium, located at 410 North G Street in Aberdeen, Washington at 1 p.m. More information about his memorial service will be announced as details become available. Please keep his family in your thoughts and prayers during this difficult time as they mourn the loss of their loved one. Thank you.
Well, Chief, thank you for that. We all know that it's been a tough week at the fire department, and we appreciate your leadership. We appreciate your leadership. So does anyone have any questions for our fire chief? Seeing none. I hope it's okay if when the public rejoins us, Chief, maybe under the public safety time in our meeting, maybe you'll share that in the regular meeting.
I can do that, yeah.
Because I think more people might be on the call, and that's when the public typically joins us, but that would be great. And then it'll be in the minutes. Next, we have our, do we have anything from the mayor on human resources?
Christy's very busy. She's really stepped up to do her best to fill in with a short time she's been here. So we're still working on hiring projects and policy projects. That's it. Thank you.
Our Parks Director, Stacy Barnum.
Thank you. I will share my screen and I will try to be quick since you will be heading into an executive session. So projects in process, the fire apparatus restoration. I've sent the draft contract to Hal Fillinger for his review. And once we have a final contract, that will be brought to the city council for your approval. Now that we have a fully executed contract with RCO, we're beginning the Little League Field remodel project. That's the restroom replacement and the new fencing around the building. Still working on the feasibility study for the potential building purchase for use as a museum or a museum warehouse. We should have an update for you at the next city council meeting. On the agenda tonight, I have a request from the Lodging Tax Committee that the council approve their recommendations to fully fund all of the grant applications. There is enough money in the lodging tax fund to cover the $77,500 in requests, and the budget for 2022 should reflect that dollar amount. The other item I have on the agenda is that the city council authorized the mayor to sign the contract with SCJ Alliance. They will provide us with 3 different alternatives and cost estimates for all 3 of those alternatives for the necessary work to be done for the Wilson Creek Bridge, which is the pedestrian bridge that leads into Morrison Riverfront Park. Once we have those options and we select one, that will provide me what I need to move forward, which could include a grant application to cover the costs for the work. We also have museum board appointments. Under appointments, those are for 3-year terms. We have Randy Bierbauer, John Shaw, George Donovan, Mike Schmidt, and David Bilski. And then a new item that will be added to the agenda tonight is a request from the More Right Group to have North William Street between Simpson Avenue and Aberdeen Avenue closed. It's actually this Friday and Saturday. I gave the finance committee the wrong information. And then next Friday and Saturday for their drive-through Christmas assistance program. The estimated cost for traffic control is $600. Councilwoman Ross will be making a request to the council to use the city council funds to cover those traffic control expenses. You guys still have $1,000 left in your traffic control or in your city council funds. And the last item is the Parks Department has moved. Our administrative offices are now located across Market Street. We're in the Old World building on the 1st floor in suite 104. So I did a map. So here is City Hall. And we are right here, just directly across the street. Our mailing address is the same, but if customers or council members or the mayor, anybody would like to stop by and visit us, we're now at 100 South I Street in suite 104. And that's it, unless anyone had questions.
Does anyone have questions for the Parks Director? Councilmember Ellis.
Director Barnum, I was just wondering if the 3 options for the bridge include design, or will the design costs be added afterwards?
It does not include design, no.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we will move on to our police chief, Steve Shumate.
Thank you, Council President Shaw. Steve Shumate, Aberdeen Police Department. And as Chief Hubbard made mention, public safety did meet earlier, and so I will defer most of the comments to the public safety chair, Tawny Andrews. I did, however, I will not be present for the December 22nd City Council meeting. And in the event there is not one on the 29th, I did want to personally express my appreciation to outgoing Public Safety Chair Tawny Andrews, as well as the City Council members on the Public Safety Committee, which of course is Margot Short and Alan Richrod. And in addition to that, also wanted to express my appreciation to Frank Gordon as well, who had been on public safety in the past. And so I know all of them will be moving on to other endeavors in 2022. So on behalf of Chief Hubbard and myself, we just wanted to share our appreciation for their service, not only to the council and the citizens of Aberdeen, but also to public safety. And other than that, I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Does anyone have any questions for our police chief? Seeing none, you're off the hook.
Thank you.
Next, our Public Works Director, Rick Sanger.
We're looking at 7:30 right now, by the way.
Oh, okay. Rick, do you mind waiting until after our executive session to?
Not at all.
Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't watching the clock carefully enough. At this time, we will recess into executive session for a, do I have? To discuss for 30 minutes, to discuss with legal counsel representing agency matters relating to agency enforcement actions, or to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential litigation to which the agency, the governing body, or a member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party, when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence. We are recessed to executive session. Okay, so let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I see 11 of us. Am I missing anybody? 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Frank, oh no, there's Frank. I finally found him.
8, 9, 10, 11. Who are we missing?
Debbie Ross.
Oh yeah, there you go.
There she is.
Well, welcome back, everyone. We are still in our council of the whole meeting, so I will reconvene. And when we left off, it is now 8:03 p.m. We are reconvening. And when we left off, our Public Works Director, Rick Sanger, was preparing to give us an update. Rick, you're on.
I don't have a lot. Public Works met yesterday at 4 o'clock, and we have no committee reports for the meeting tonight. I think that's the first time in over a year. But anyway, we do have some good news, and it was I found out last week, but it was made official today that we received a new $350,000 grant, TA grant for sidewalks on the south side of Sumner Street in the westbound direction. So we will be putting in sidewalks in the near future to fill in the gaps between Division and Myrtle Street. So that's nice. And anything else, as always, I'm here to answer any questions, and then Committee Chair Meskis will be available as well, obviously.
Does anyone have questions for our Public Works Director? Seeing none, just what you needed, another grant. Go, Rick.
Yeah, another grant we have to administer. It's all good.
It is all good. It's great. So, well, that will conclude our department head reports. Next is the mayor's report. What do you have for us tonight, Mayor Shea?
Oh, I don't have anything tonight. Thanks.
Okay, all right. Next is our non-standing committee reports. I'll call on each council member to share what you've been up to since we met last. That might not be on the agenda, but it's part of our jobs. Councilmember Andrews.
I met with the museum committee, museum board recently. So, the business as usual there, getting ready, talking about working with the friends. They're very excited to hear, how the possibility of purchasing a building is and planning for the future. So it's all good. It was my last meeting with them, and I'll have my last meeting with COG next week.
Thank you. Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you. Last Saturday, I attended the Elected Officials Essentials training put on by AWC. And although I've been on council for a bit over a year, it was still a very valuable session. I had a Zoom equity and inclusion and climate action planning session put on by MRSC. And then had a meeting Monday, I believe it was Monday, with the mayor and representatives from NeighborWorks, County Council, Grace Harbor Housing Authority, and fellow council members to talk about housing needs and our homeless population. And that was very fruitful. So, and then been fielding lots of emails and calls about garbage and neighbors wanting to see some cleanup action at 410 Grant Street where there was a fire in October. So keeping busy.
Thank you. That's actually a good reminder for all of us to make sure that we're current on our public records training and Open Public Meetings Act training. That's a personal responsibility we take on as elected officials. And there's lots of guidance on the AWC website and through the clerk's office on how to keep that up to date. Next, Councilmember Francie.
Hi, I have nothing to report this time.
Thank you. Councilmember Gordon. Thank you. Councilmember Cashman.
Yes, I did go to a couple meetings. First of all, it was the Southwest Washington Regional Transportation Planning Organization meeting. I believe that's how that one goes. That one actually met earlier today, and we did ratify the recommendation for the Sumner Avenue sidewalk improvements, which was really cool to see a grant for Aberdeen again. The funds that were awarded were over 1.8 million. So to be a part of that with everyone that belongs in that group is pretty cool. To be ranked up there and receive money for our projects is always really exciting. I believe we were ranked number 6 and ended up getting funding in the 5th position, which was great. There is also the Regional Transportation Improvement project, the RTIP, which is 2021 to 2024. It currently has 595 million in projects, and I believe that there are 3 projects as part of that RTIP for Aberdeen. And then they also gave a reminder that the federal bipartisan infrastructure bill is out there. And so they wanted to let us know to make sure to dust off any projects or sharpen our pencils on anything new, because there are going to be monies available potentially for City of Aberdeen type projects. It sounds like there's a large focus on vehicle electric projects, as well as, oh darn it, there's one more and it just escapes. It escapes me right now, but it'll come to me later and I'll share it then. I also attended November 30th was the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee meeting to review the applications for 2022 funding. It was a really good meeting, and there's a whole lot of great projects going on for council's consideration for LTAC funding later tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Mackey.
I have nothing further tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you. I have nothing to report tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Richrod.
Saturday, I got up many hours earlier than I normally do to help set up for the Winterfest Breakfast. And this was at the game day sports bar. It was Breakfast with Santa, and we had the snow machine spraying snow out on the sidewalk, and the kids were having the greatest time, and it was a rousing success. I have to extend congratulations, I guess, who put that whole thing together themselves. It turned out really well, and the whole day went went well. And I was going to go over and check out the bazaar, the Christmas bazaar over at across the street at the event center, but I couldn't get in the door. It was so well attended, and that was great. And the hundreds, I guess, of dozens anyway, of gingerbread houses that were on display at the Wedemäki building. That was really cool to see. And the plans are moving ahead with the Downtown Association. We were getting almost weekly inquiries from small businesses and art communities from outside the area as to space that could be available. Will has been sick for the last week or so. He's back in the saddle, but he's not moving too fast right yet. We're having a big hive get together. That's the second floor, and art, and it'll be middle of the month, and it's kind of going to be our wrap up meeting, and we'll have a whole bunch of new things to report about, and I will report about that later. And that's pretty much it city wise.
I wish I could have got a picture of them kids playing in the snow. It was funny. It was really cute.
Yeah. Yeah. It sure was.
So your city issued cell phone doesn't have a camera on it?
I didn't bring it with me. I was walking around and I didn't want to be bothered with a phone, and I left it in my pickup.
There you go.
There's going to be a bunch of stuff up on Facebook. If it isn't up there already, it'll be up there, the videos and stuff.
And I did go into the bazaar and it was packed.
Okay, well, thank you. Councilmember Ross.
So I think Alan was trying to give kudos to Bobby and Betty. Your voice was kind of garbled, so I want to make sure Bobby McCracken and Betty Worth deserve a huge thanks for that event because it was fabulous.
Yes, they do.
And the only other thing I have to report is I also attended the meeting on the homeless and the housing with, it was just fabulous to get everybody to the table. And we had a very good discussion, and I'm really looking forward to some positive things happening. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Councilmember Short.
Nothing this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Taylor.
Nothing right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, with the completion of those reports, that will, unless anyone has anything else that they want to bring up, that concludes. Seeing none, that concludes our committee of the whole meeting. I will turn it over to you, Mayor Shave.
Thank you. This is Mayor Shave, and it's Wednesday, December 8th, 2021 at 8:14. And I call the Aberdeen City Council meeting to order. Public comments and public hearing comments are included during the Zoom video meetings. The public was notified that if they wish to speak during the meeting, an email be sent to cityclerk@aberdeenwa.gov and indicate if they would like to speak or have the clerk read the comment. If they desire to comment live, they will be called on during the meeting and allowed to speak for 3 minutes. All written comments that are sent in are provided to all the council members. Deputy City Clerk, will you take a roll call, please?
Yes. Andrews?
Here.
Ellis?
Here.
Francie?
Here.
Gordon?
He's muted.
Here.
Sorry. Scotchman?
Here.
Mackey?
Here.
Meskis?
Present.
Richrod?
Here.
Ross?
Here.
Shaw?
Here.
Short?
Here.
Taylor?
Here.
Shave?
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda was the executive session, which everybody knows we already did. So move on to the minutes of the previous meeting.
Mayor Shave,
Council President Shaw.
I move we approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, were there any additions or deletions? Council member Meskis.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to bring back to the table excusing Councilmember Taylor from the meeting he was absent for.
Okay. Is that a motion?
So moved.
Is there?
Second,
Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to excuse Councilmember Taylor from the previous council meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And now we're back. Oh, Councilmember Ross.
Thank you, Mayor Shave. I just wanted to add an item to the Finance Committee report regarding the funds that Stacy mentioned in her report for the More Right group. So I think just make it item number 4 under
Okay.
reports.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to add the More Right Group fund request and street closure request to the agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, and that is all for additions or deletions. Okay, moving on to public comments. City Clerk, were there any public comments?
We have one public comment in regards to the hearing. We can read it now or we can hold it for the hearing.
I think we have to read it at the hearing.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
that's the only one.
Thank you. Moving on to Finance Committee Chair report from Councilmember Catchman.
Good evening, everyone. Finance met tonight via Zoom at 6 p.m. It's been a busy time for finance with the 2022 budget readings and ensuring council really has all the information that we need in order to make an informed decision. So we do have the budget on the agenda tonight for adoption, and we also have the second reading of the supplemental budget for 2021, and then some other items, agenda items are sprinkled in there as well. So I will get rolling on this. For expenditures and payroll, I move that we approve.
I second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the expenditures and payrolls. Is there any discussion? Deputy City Clerk, that's a roll call vote, please.
A motion to approve accounts payable in the total amount of $1,533,162.19 and payroll in the total amount of $857,505.44. Check numbers 25329 through 25377 and 75457 through 75639, and wires 1292 through 1296 and 1298. Andrews?
Yes.
Ellis?
yes,
Francie?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
Kochman?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Meskis?
Yes.
Richrod?
Aye.
Ross?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Short?
yes,
Taylor?
Yes.
Motion is approved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Next, I have a report that is offered as information only and no action is required at this time per the request by City Council on November 23rd, 2021. Within the packet, there's a summary analysis for a city administrator that has been provided to council by our finance director. Next, under reports, we have a report from finance and the parks director recommending that the city council authorize the mayor to sign a contract with SCJ Alliance for an alternative analysis for an amount not to exceed $29,894.58. I move we adopt this report.
I second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Schaaf?
Under discussion, Councilmember Catchman.
Within the report, it does notate that a supplemental budget is needed. However, it is included in the 2022 budget that is on the agenda under ordinances later. It is part of that should council choose to keep it in there.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the report, say aye.
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 Is there any that oppose? Thank you. Motion carries.
And let's see, no, two more reports here. Next, we have a report from Finance and the Parks Director recommending that the City Council accept the recommendations of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee and authorize the mayor to enter into individual contracts with the organizations mentioned in the report for the disbursement of the 2022 lodging tax funds. I move we adopt this report.
I second.
Motion is made and seconded to adopt this report. Any discussion? Councilmember Andrews?
I need to recuse myself from the discussion and the vote because I serve on a couple of I help organize a couple of the events.
Very good, thank you. Councilmember Francie?
I also have a conflict tonight to have to recuse myself from voting and need it reflected in the minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of this report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The report is adopted.
And next is,
Mayor Schaaf?
Next is More Right Group.
yeah. Council President Shaw, did you have something?
I know I'm slightly out of order. I wasn't quick enough to speak up under comments, and I don't know if any of our event organizers are online, but I wish you could have been present in Finance Committee tonight when there was sincere appreciation expressed for all of the citizen involvement that it takes to put on these festivals and events. So thank you to anyone on the call who is part of these events. Your work is appreciated very much.
Okay. Did we add the More Right Group to finance?
Yeah.
There.
I will talk
Councilmember
about.
Ross.
I can.
Go ahead, Katie.
Okay. All right. So next we have a recommendation from the Finance Committee that we utilize Council Fund 004 to cover the fees associated with closing down William Street between Simpson and Aberdeen Avenues between December 10th and 11th and December 17th and 18th. The cost is anticipated at $600. This is a one-time courtesy for the More Right Group, who are new tenants of the building. The council has $1,000 left in funding for the 2021 budget year. I approve that we recommend, or I move we approve as recommended.
And I'll second.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to approve this request from the More Right Group for street closure and funding for it. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Mayor, I had my hand up.
Oh, I couldn't see it. Go ahead, Councilmember Meskey.
Thank you. I just wanted to say the More Right Group is a really amazing organization, so I'm really happy to support this event of theirs.
Thank you. Sorry, Council. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. And that was a request from this afternoon. So look at the speed of government on that one.
Yeah.
Next, we have an ordinance. Under ordinance is the second reading and public hearing of Bill 21-12, an ordinance adopting a supplemental budget to change the 2021 appropriations and expenditures as specified herein. We'll start with the public hearing, and I move that we open the public hearing.
A second.
Motion is made and seconded to open the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? The public hearing is now open. Deputy City Clerk, was there anyone wanted to speak on the public hearing on this?
We had no written request submitted and there's no one currently with a hand raised.
Thank you.
I move that we close the public hearing.
I second.
Motion was made and seconded to close the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Public hearing is now closed.
I move that we accept the second reading of Bill 21-12.
I second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the second reading. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The second reading is passed.
Thank you. And finally, under ordinances, the big moment is the third reading and adoption of Bill 21-11, an ordinance adopting the 2022 annual budget for the city of Aberdeen, Grace Harbor County, state of Washington. I make a motion amending proposed ordinance 21-11 as corrected in the agenda and adopting it as the third reading to place this bill in final passage.
I second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the third reading and adoption of Bill 21-11. Is there any discussion? Under discussion, Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on our discussion last time about the potential for hiring a city administrator. And I really appreciate the work of Director Soul to get us the information that she provided us with. To me, it does look like something that we can do. And from our last meeting, it seemed to me like the mayor would be supportive of this, not at this time, but perhaps next year for next year's budget. And so I would encourage us to start this next year with that in mind, that we seriously consider the hiring of a city administrator for 2023. Thank you.
Councilmember Ross.
I would like to get it on this year's budget. I think it's a step in the right direction, and if we get it on the budget, we can start the process sooner rather than later. So I would make a motion that we add that amount as outlined by Director Soul's memo. I was going to use the figure $250,000 towards hiring a city administrator.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to add the amount designated for city administrator to the 2022 budget. Is there any discussion? Under discussion, Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. I would like to echo Councilmember Ross's kudos to our finance director. The report we got was very thorough and contained, pretty much all the information that, I felt unnecessary to make this decision. So I think this is something that the city needs now. I don't think we need to wait, and we need to get this in the budget.
Thank you. Councilmember Richrod.
Yeah, and springboarding off of that, we put it off a couple of times to put it off a little farther, and then next time we put it off so we could put it off again. And if we're going to do this next year, let's do it now. We're going to have to do it anyway. So, and this is money spent, but this is an investment. And in talking about it with business people in the area, they kind of universally don't understand why we haven't done this already, because this will speed up and effectively make the city government much more efficient, and we can use this in our growth potential. And talking with other cities that have city administrators, the payback, we don't know the whole payback yet. It's more than what they expected to see, but this investment will pay off. I think we should do it right now.
Thank you. Councilmember Shaw.
Well, where I'm at on this is pretty clear, so I won't belabor the point. I strongly support this. I've said that we can't afford not to. Good government, good governments have our size have city administrators, but it's not just a throwaway line to say we can't afford not to. There's no better time than now to go after state and federal funding. The one thing that obviously this is the mayor's decision. As a policy matter, I hope this council that sends a strong signal to the mayor that it is in the budget, because the reason that apparently we haven't done it yet is because it's not in the budget. So let's put it back in there. But also, I just want to share a thought, and this is probably more for the mayor to think about, and maybe for us to think about, is that, we have what this looks like isn't perfect yet. And I was doing some research, and that cities that try and do a city administrator, maybe there's experts in good government out there who come in as an interim for 1 year and create it so that the person that we hire as our long-term person doesn't have to come in and invent the wheel. You take some of maybe think about maybe this first year is hiring the good government experts to come in and make it happen, have an interim city administrator who sets it all up so that we can then go get a city administrator so that some of that pressure is relieved. That's just my suggestion, but I'm going to support this tonight. But I also think that doing the research, we've fallen a little bit behind on the salary we set, and I'm in favor of putting this in the budget, but we should be prepared to maybe look again at what it might cost. But there's never going to be a better time, and if we wait, we'll be sorry. That's it. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Councilmember Gordon.
Okay, the biggest thing that you people have to realize that if we start today looking, okay, it's going to be until we get everything rolled up on our needs and wants. You're talking a few months till it's out. Then if you're going to hire anybody that's worth a darn, you're going to have the problem. He's going to have to give notice. He's going to have to be able to, if he's any good, if he's out there free and just looking for a job, why did he lose his last job or quit his last job? So this is a lot more than going out like hiring your newspaper boy. This is really a big step. I agree we should get in the process of looking, but I don't want to see us jump the gun and hire somebody just because he's walking down the street and he's looking for work. Thank you.
Margot, you had your hand up next.
Yeah, I still say it's a lot of money. Our budget is such that I don't know how you're going to even think about balancing it.
Councilmember Catchman.
Thank you. I still have a few reservations about this. First of all, besides the point with the salary, I think it's worth looking strategically at some of our open director positions and see if we could do something that's more like in a hybrid way, like maybe finding a city administrator that also could act as our HR director or as our city attorney. That's not something that's unheard of. We see it over in Hoquiam, and it could be the option to fill both positions. Maybe it costs more to fill the one position as a hybrid, but certainly more cost effective to our citizens than having two people. I'm also concerned about budgeting this amount of money. If the mayor, I believe he's clearly stated that he does not intend to fill it for 2022. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that is putting money in the budget for a line item that isn't there. So I think it's certainly worth continuing to discuss that with the mayor. It also puts money in the budget that could allow the mayor to overspend on other line items in the budget and still be within the overall budget. So I think we also need to consider, some of the implications of that as well. And I don't think this is something we have to do tonight. Obviously, if we can make money in the budget for it tonight, we can certainly do it 3 or 4 months down the road when we have time to really make a good decision that our mayor and city staff as well are brought on board with.
Thank you. Councilmember Andrews.
Well, to some of you that are new, this might be new. This is not new. This has been a discussion for many, many years. And I would encourage anybody who is new, if you have an opportunity to go to AWC, the convention when they start having them in person. To be honest, I wasn't for this when the former mayor brought it up, but I went to that and I sat in on a training that told you exactly why this position is important. And, and so I jumped on board because it is important. And whether Katie has the idea of doing it hybrid or not, I mean, that's something that can be looked at, but it's an important position. That's why it was in the budget. That's why we put it in the budget so many times. And, just like many other things, the mayor will do what he wants anyway, but I think it's important. And I think it's important that the council tells the mayor what we want. So.
Anyone else?
Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, we have department heads and a mayor already. How are we going to sustain something like this long term? I mean, what's the point of it? We have department heads already, as well as a mayor.
Well, Councilmember Ross.
I would just like to respond that having a city administrator brings a cohesiveness to the entire city, somebody who's got their fingers on everything. And yes, we have a mayor, but mayors are part-time and don't always have all of the necessary skills to keep tabs on everything. And I think having somebody in a more professional role is beneficial to the mayor and beneficial to the department heads and beneficial to the city. So I think it's worth it.
Thank you. I would just add that I'm not opposed to this. I'm not opposed to having a city administrator. The issue has just been money, and we could stay here all night. If you wanted to add this to the agenda, let's just stay here until we figure out how to fund it. But I'm not going to do that either. But the thing is, we did this once, we went through this once before. We put it out for a city administrator. We got one application and a bunch of notices that we were way underpaying. And the one application talked with us long enough to realize the pay was way too low and withdrew. So that's the only issue it's been all this time is the cost. The police station and fire station projects just seem to keep getting pushed back. We're already pulling funds from reserves to make this budget meet balance, and those funds are not sustainable as it is. So city administrator sounds great, but we still have to fund it. Anyone else? Councilmember Taylor?
Yeah, my other question is who ends up footing this bill in the long run? The taxpayers?
Well, absolutely. It comes out of city budget.
Jeff Myers has had his hand up for a while.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff. Go ahead.
No problem, Mr. Mayor. The matter that's before us right now is consideration of the ordinance 21-11, which contains the budget. It's on for third reading, and we now have a suggestion to modify that. And what I wanted to ask is a clarification of exactly what the proposed modification is, including what numbers you want to do to add for the city administrator position and how you want to modify the proposed budget. I think we need to understand that so that we can, if what you're proposing is to add money for the city administrator position, we need to know how much and how it's going to modify the budget. That was my only point.
Thank you. I'm looking for the note. Here it is. The motion was to add $221,783 to the 2022 budget.
I thought I seconded 250.
I heard the number 250 as well.
Okay. Well, okay.
That was
I'm
the
just-
number that I wanted to add to the budget.
I'm just looking at the actual number. So yeah, that's the motion to add that to the agenda. Or I mean to the 2022 budget.
And if it's clarification you're looking for, in the interest of discussion, we do this every year pretty much. And any amendments that come up about this time, the assumption is that it's at general fund reserves, but then we get creative and we start looking at it during the year. So I don't think we need to pinpoint it down by breaking it out at this time, but as we get to, if the mayor chooses to fill it, we can have that conversation then on how it gets parceled out and what really needs to happen, right?
Finance Director Sol.
So we need some clarification. We need to know if we want to go with step 5, so I can make sure I fill those categories in with the step 5. The difference between the 221,783 and the 250, we can easily add in as an expense to miscellaneous expense to balance it up to 250 from the 221. That's how I would plan to put it in if we do go with 250. I'd fill in with what we know using step 5 as the salary and fringe and the expenses that we listed, and then add another line item to put the difference in there. And then we at least have a budget if we do end up hiring that would allow us to put someone in place.
And this would be a general fund item,
Yes.
correct?
What was that, Mayor? What was that?
My question was, would this be under the general fund items?
It would, but it also is going to include funding coming from the indirect cost allocation. So there's a code in the budget that's indirect cost allocation. So it would be split amongst those for the 221.
Indirect cost allocation is code for something that is as a mystery to everyone but the finance director because it's complicated.
And it tries to balance out the services of the people that serve the whole city, not just their department. But yeah, it isn't easy to explain. You're right.
Okay. Councilmember Ellis.
Excuse me. I think with so many different new grants coming out, and our current directors are pretty stretched as it is, that having a city administrator would go a long way for helping to bring in additional grant monies for projects that are high priorities for us, whether it's the fire station or the police station or public works projects, and that in part, they will bring in money that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise, which isn't to say it offsets the cost of their position, but it helps the city accomplish more of our vision. And I think that overview and coordination amongst department heads is so important and will be very helpful to the mayor and all of the staff.
Okay, anyone else? Councilmember Shaw?
So just real quick, the mayor did mention our facilities needs, and as a matter of policy, this council has supported the planning for these facilities and actually committed quite a lot of money. But those are only plans on the shelf unless, and part of the reason for the plans was to make ourselves grant eligible, but those are only plans on the shelf unless we have somebody to oversee, administer, and go after available fundings for these projects that are really important.
Anyone else? Councilmember Francie?
Yeah, if we add this, we're not gonna fill it tomorrow or in January, so it's not like the money just disappears and is spent, it's the potential to spend it. That's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? This is a roll call vote, please.
Just confirming, this is,
Can I ask for a clarification? We are voting.
that's what I was just gonna do for you, yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Roll call vote approving the third reading of the adoption of bill number 2111 as amended on the agenda with the addition of $250,000 towards the hiring of a city administrator.
Okay,
I think that's two items.
the amendment is is being voted for.
So we're currently voting on
Just
the
the
amendment on the table of $250,000 for a city administrator added to the 2022 budget
That's correct.
as a roll call vote.
And it was asked by Councilmember Gordon to be a roll call vote.
Right. Okay. Roll call vote on adding $250,000 to the 2022 budget for a city administrator. Andrews.
Yes.
Ellis.
Yes.
Francie.
Yes.
Gordon.
No.
Kochman.
No.
Mackey.
Yes.
Meskis.
Yes.
Rich Rod.
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes.
Short.
No.
Taylor.
No.
That passes 8-4, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Now we're moving on to the third reading and final passage.
I move that we approve the third reading as amended and place in final passage.
I second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the third reading and placed in, as amended and placed in final passage. And this, again, is a roll call vote.
This is a roll call vote for the third reading and final passage of bill number 21-11, adopting the 2022 annual budget. Andrews?
Yes.
Thanks, Tony. Ellis?
Yes.
Francie?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
Kochman?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Meskis?
Yes.
Rich Rod?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Short?
No.
Taylor?
Yes.
That's 11-1, Mr. Mayor. This will be ordinance number 6678.
Thank you.
And that's all from finance tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works Committee Chair Report, Meskis.
Thank you very much. Public Works did have a very short meeting the other day just to discuss some old and new business. So I will get right to reports and communications. And tonight we have a presentation on the wastewater treatment plant influent screening and conveyance project. So I will hand that over to whoever is supposed to be presenting. Director Sanger. Oh, there you go, Daryl. Okay. Hand it over to you.
Alrighty, let's see, it's the first time I've done this. So let me share my screen with you so I can get that presentation right here. Let's see. Sorry, I have to access my system preferences really quick.
Please be patient with Daryl. This is his first time presenting, and he doesn't do a lot of presenting on Zoom. So just click the share screen button in the middle of the bottom of the screen, and it'll bring up, click on the screen you want to share and then hit share.
Yeah, I got it's telling me to go into my system preferences and change a few things with security. So let's see, there we go.
I'll take the blame. We should have done a dry run.
Yep. I'll have to leave the meeting really quick. I'll be back.
You are taking the blame, Rick. I figured he got his computer technology skills from you.
Poor Daryl.
So while we're waiting, why don't we go ahead and do the public hearing and then we can come back to the presentation. So under public hearing, this is the date set for the public hearing for the influence screening. And well, the presentation is part of the public hearing, so we should probably wait for the presentation, huh? What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, I would agree. He'll be right back.
Okay.
So, oh, it's just poor Daryl. He's gonna
The only
really
reason I was teasing you,
beat
Rick,
himself up
is
over this.
The only reason I can get away with teasing you, Rick, is because I'm worse at this computer technology.
Well, I don't know if anybody's worse than Daryl.
Well, my motto is if this stuff worked, you wouldn't need me. So, you know.
So he'll be right back, I'm sure.
This technology always works, except when it doesn't.
That's absolutely right.
So one thing we could do while we're waiting for him to get back, do we want to skip down to public safety and then come back to public works?
Yes, we could do that because I don't see him coming back on yet. So
yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay, Councilmember Andrews, Public Safety Chair.
Actually, he's in the waiting room waiting to be let in. By the way, he's got his hand up in the waiting room. Do you want to bring him back in, or you want me to go ahead?
Just go ahead, Tony. It won't take too long here.
All right, public safety met this evening at 6:30, and everybody but poor Alan had his computer issues and came in late, but you know. So let me just bring up my reports. So for the fire department, they mentioned the Aberdeen and Hoquiam total numbers for November was 757, and Graham, which is the one we always compare to, they were 679. So November was quite very busy. And the item on the agenda is the resolution to adjust the EMS availability fee effective January 1st. Our fire service specialist was very busy. She did 6 home visits. There was 1 APS referral. There were 7 911 calls for overdoses in the month of November. And the fire chief mentioned that we've almost surpassed that in the month of December, unfortunately. So yeah, December is not shaping up to be a good month. All right, so moving over to the police department, they held Shop with the Cop on Saturday, Winterfest, and we had the VIPs and police explorers both out there, and they wanted to thank everybody that was involved in that. The Aberdeen Police Department has a giving tree set up in their lobby. However, the community's already collected all of the ornaments. But if anybody still wants to donate toys or money, it can still be provided for this cause. Donations can be made out to the Aberdeen Police Officers Guild, and gifts can be dropped off at APD. Any unreturned ornaments will be filled by the department on December 17th, and the fire department, Santa, and the police department will deliver everything to the families that have been chosen on December 20th. The camping ordinance was passed recently, and the amended camping ordinance, the city will be meeting with Attorney Jeff Myers tomorrow to discuss the next step in addressing the encampment at City Hall. And, oh, well, the other part he already mentioned. So let's move back on to the agenda items. And let's see. Oh, that's the wrong one. Okay, city agenda. So we have a report from Public Safety and the Fire Chief recommending that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign a resolution setting fees and charges for the ambulance and emergency medical services utility under AMC 13.80.090 and 13.80.110 and superseding resolution 2014-15. I move we accept this report.
Richard, second.
Motion was made and seconded to accept this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, so I'll move to resolutions. There's a resolution setting fees and charges for the ambulance and emergency medical service utility under AMC 13.80.090 and 13.80.110 and superseding resolution 2014-15. I move we accept this resolution.
Okay,
Richard, second.
motion was made and seconded to accept the resolution. Is there any discussion? Seeing none,
Dan.
I
Councilmember Shaw.
apologize. This is a question I meant to ask earlier and it completely slipped my mind until I saw it tonight. Do we need to give, I know this came up during our budget workshop, but do we need to have public notice, or what kind of notice do we give to people before we raise the rates?
I will defer that to the finance director or Tom. Tom popped on.
So many years ago, for EMS utility rates, corporate counsel at that time, Eric Nelson, put it in the format of a resolution. And so the last time we raised it was 2018. It was actually ordinance 2017 something. So I think we may have a typo in tonight's agenda because the resolution says it supersedes 2017, whatever. But historically, we've done it by resolution in November, December, and they are raised in December.
Okay, I just know there's a lot going on. I wanted to make sure we didn't miss a step.
Okay, I see where it says resolution 2017-11.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it should read, but that's a clerical error that we can fix. So the 2017-11 is the correct resolution that this is superseding.
okay. Is there any other discussion?
So, and just for knowledge of any of the public, so it's raising it from 23.87 to 27.96. So it's about $4, but it's, well, under $4, but it's, again, hasn't been raised for a long time.
Well, and I would like to add, if I may, that this fee here is a fee that the council felt was somewhat palatable because it still doesn't meet the actual expense. So we're trying to keep it, you know, as best we can affordable. So, okay,
yeah,
any other discussion?
We're trying not to make too big of a jump.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Seeing none? All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
This will be
That's it.
resolution number 2021-16.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
And that's it from public safety.
Okay, let's go back to,
For the
Public
record, let
Works.
me clarify, I misspoke, 2021-26.
okay, got you. Public Works, Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. And it looks like we have Daryl back. So Daryl, take it away.
Yes, all right, thank you. Yeah, it was just a privacy setting I needed to adjust. So we should be good now. Let's see.
There
All
it
right,
is.
so this, try and be as straightforward and brief as I can be. But this is the public hearing presentation for the wastewater treatment plant influent screening and conveyance project. So why are we having this hearing? We want to inform the public and council about the upcoming wastewater treatment plant influent screening and conveyance project, as well as its objectives and alternatives and costs and impacts. And we want to encourage the public to provide any input they have on the project. And we also are required, well, we're required by ecology to pursue a certain amount of public outreach in order to improve our eligibility to receive funding in the form of grants and low interest loans. Okay, so what we've had before for public involvement for this project is we've had the planning stage for our general sewer wastewater facility plan and rate study, which not only encompasses this project, but all our other planned projects through 2024 for our wastewater treatment plant. We've had a determination of non-significance issued October 8, 2020 from our SEPA environmental checklist, and as well as during the design stage, we've had mitigated the determination of non-significance issued September of this year. The project objectives, a bit broad. We want to improve water quality in Grays Harbor estuary, improve public health by reducing risk of exposure to sewage. We want to replace equipment that's under capacity or beyond its lifetime. We want to achieve compliance with federal and state requirements. Reduce hazards to plant operations and maintenance staff, and improve the downstream treatment processes after what we're upgrading. We also want to ensure upgrades are compliant with current building, electrical, and flood codes. So who is served by this project? Anyone that uses our wastewater treatment plant. So that's all of City of Aberdeen, City of Cosmopolis, Port of Grays Harbor, anyone, any service, any septic tank service, grease trap service, portable toilet service, LeMay's landfill, and other small municipalities that use our wastewater treatment plant. The major elements of this project are the influent pump station improvements, and I'll go into these a little bit more in depth as we go. The headwork screen replacement and the primary sludge pump room improvements. The influent pump station is kind of a transitionary element of their wastewater treatment plant. We pump from the wet well with our pumps in the dry well to the headwork screens. Those screens block out any kind of bigger material like rocks and rags. And then we also want to improve our primary sludge pump room, which takes any kind of solids from the primary clarifiers and takes it over to the solids handling portion of our wastewater treatment plant. So here you can see a little map of our project. The new electrical building you see on the middle right encompasses all components of this project. This includes headworks and primary sludge pump room, as well as our influent pump station and plant drain pump station. For the project element, Influent pump station, we're looking to replace a bunch of conveyance piping, get in a new Influent pump, and as well as improve our ventilation there. As well, we have a motor control room above that we're looking to move our electrical equipment there into our new electrical room building. The electrical room building, I'll just cover it now, and it has to do with all of our other improvements, is that we need to be flood code compliant. We need to have our electrical equipment, our critical infrastructure 3 feet above at least our 100-year floodplain elevation. So that's the reason we have, we're moving everything from all of our project elements electric wise into that room. Next element, primary sludge pump room. So this goes kind of along the lines of our Influent pump station in terms of electrical code and flood code compliance. We are moving all of our electrical equipment here, all our motor control equipment, heat tracing, and all that into our new electrical room, as well as replacing some old piping. Obviously, this will extend the reliability and service life of all the equipment in that room. We are also planning on putting a 3-foot floodgate to protect the equipment that we are leaving in that room. As for the Headwork screen replacement, we are looking to, again, replace piping and reroute piping. Currently, we have pumps 1 through 3 discharging before the screen, which is good. We have pumps 4 through 5 piping discharging after the Headwork screen. So we still have some bigger items going past the screen, which will affect downstream treatment processes. So part of this project is to reroute pumps 4 and 5 piping conveyance before the screens, as well as upsize the screens and upsize the channels so that our Headworks can handle flows that we are looking, that our treatment plan is looking to handle. Oh, sorry, it's also, I'll also mention that our Headworks electrical equipment is also housed beneath in the sludge pump room. So all that electrical equipment will be going into the new electrical building. So the project cost is looking to be 8.59 million. In our talks with our consultants, it's kind of a moving target, but that is our ask for ecology for grants and low interest loans. Will this project affect sewer rates? Yeah, indirectly. In 2019, an ordinance was approved, 6655, to enact a step rate increase through 2024. That would encapsulate any project that we have in our wastewater capital improvement plan. This project included, and we have future projects as well that are affected by the step rate increase that are funded through, partially funded through the step rate increase. And of course, receiving the low interest loans from ecology will help potentially mitigate any kind of cost increase. So what are the impacts to underserved residents? Underserved residents could be qualified as low income, people of color, elderly people, children, or people with low English proficiency. The project itself is not expected to have any negative impacts. In fact, it will improve the quality of life of species living in the Grays Harbor estuary and Chehalis River, as well as reduce risk to those in the city of Aberdeen from sewage overflows. However, there is a related step rate increase that will affect individuals of lower income. Those impacts could be offset by programs that we have in the city of Aberdeen, such as CAP, Coastal Community Action Program, that provide utility assistance. Okay, so what kind of a broad range of alternatives that were considered? So we have the usual null alternative, so the do nothing approach, which would likely actually result in higher costs over the long term, resulting in sewage overflows and emergency repairs later on. The higher range, the do more approaches, the new Headworks primary sludge room and Influent pump station, making completely new or constructing completely new facilities would be significantly more expensive. And then we have, of course, our totally new wastewater treatment plant, which would be even more expensive than that, $825 to $168 million. We also looked at reusing the existing electrical buildings, but in order to be in compliance with our flood and electrical codes, we opted to go with a new higher electrical building to house existing and any future electrical equipment. We've also looked at other screens, but we went with the most cost-effective approach for our bar screens. So the next steps of this project, we are accepting public comment through January 5th, about roughly a month from this public hearing. And in that same month, in January 2020, we will be seeing a preliminary funding list. In August 2022, we will see a final funding list to see if we get funding or not. If we do, then in September 2022, we plan to advertise bids to contractors, starting construction in November 2022 and lasting for 2 to 3 years afterwards. That is the presentation, and I have Iris CSA from the police department for any kind of interpretation services, if there are any non-English speakers or Spanish only speakers that would like to provide public comment. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. Just a quick question for Daryl. Your slide said that you're accepting public comment until January 5th. Could you let the public know how they can submit their comments?
Yes, I think I can take public comment personally through my email, depstein@aberdeenlaw.gov, and you can find our contact info on the engineering department on our website. And I would be happy to take any public comment as well as answer any questions after this public hearing as well.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rick, I thought he did a pretty good job.
You did a great job. One thing, there was, I believe, a public comment to be read into the record.
Yeah, we got to get to the public hearing and it'll be read then.
Okay.
Yep. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew where they can send public comments after the meeting, because I think sending them to the clerk would probably not be the best method at that point. So if there are no other questions for Mr. Epstein, then we'll go ahead and move on to public hearings. This is the date set for the public hearing for the Influent Screening and Conveyance Project. I move that we open the public hearing.
Phyllis, second.
Motion was made, seconded to open the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The public hearing is now open. City Deputy Clerk, is there any correspondence for the public hearing?
We have one, and seeing no hands raised in our current public, we will just go ahead and read this. To Aberdeen Mayor and City Council members, I'm responding to the Public Works Department memo about a proposed project of the Aberdeen wastewater treatment plant. I found the information you provided lacking in detail, specifically what would be the new rates and for how long would we pay the new rate. Informing us that the rates would be consistent with the city's financial plan is zero information and nothing that the public can wrap its head around. I am also wondering why minorities and low income are being considered for current or future financial break. If they use the services, then they need to pay for them. What are you telling us in effect? What you are telling us in effect is that responsible people will pay for people that are not responsible or those considered a minority. By the way, what is the definition of a minority that you referred to and why are they entitled for a reduction? There are millions of unfilled jobs in this country, so why does the city pander to this nonsense? Rewarding this kind of behavior simply encourages more of the same and is not fair to those of us that fulfill our obligations. Many years ago, we, the public, received a notice for a 20-year temporarily rate increase to fund a 1 million sludge digester at the wastewater facility. After 20 years, you didn't keep your end of the bargain. You undoubtedly figured the public forgot about the rate increase and never reduced our fees as you indicated you would. This time your memo is vague. There's no mention of a short-term rate increase to cover the cost of the project or if the new rates would be incorporated forever. Your vague memo lacks integrity. I'm also dismayed that the city employees were lucky enough to work through the COVID-19 pandemic and then be granted a pay increase by the city council. The new increased rates are a real burden for many of us retired citizens and other segments of the public that have been out of work due to COVID, but city officials seemingly don't seem to care. Now you want even more money, which indicates insufficient long-range planning. I would also request more information on exactly what is the cost of each item that will come to 7.5 million. The information provided is not satisfactory. In closing, the city has known about this project for a long time, but is only giving the public 2 weeks to respond to a very expensive project with purposeful, inadequate information. Quite frankly, I think this is already a done deal, that public input will be ignored and it will be full steam ahead into an uncertain financial future. History has already shown us that our taxes and rate increases were foolishly wasted on a camp behind City Hall, and in return, we are rewarded with cleaning up their stinking messes, wasted money that could have been applied to future infrastructure needs. Your counterparts in Holcomb have done a much better job of dealing with vagrants and being responsible with the allocation of citizens' hard-earned money. To say that I am not impressed with the way Aberdeen city officials conduct our business will be a gross understatement. Signed, Jerry York, 4th Ward. And there are still no hands raised from the public at this time.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to move to close the public hearing.
Ellis, second.
Motion was made and seconded to close the public hearing. Is there any discussion? See none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
And that is all from Public Works.
All right, then we'll move on to special agenda items.
Mayor Shave,
Council President Shaw.
we have a report from the Community Development Director recommending that the City Council adopt the first reading of Bill number 2113, which is an ordinance redistricting the wards of the City of Aberdeen based on population information from the most recent federal decennial census. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Under discussion, Councilmember Rich Rod.
I cannot find the actual maps that we were talking about, but I understand, and Council President Shaw can probably confirm that the changes are very minor and simply account for population shift, and obviously the council is not going to be changed. It sounds like, is that pretty much correct?
Well, actually, I can't confirm anything. I didn't know any more than you did till it showed up on the agenda. But I think there was a request for some more information from one council member, which I echo. I think it would be helpful for the council to actually see a comparison of where the changes were made. And I also saw on the maps a chart that shows the current distribution, but maybe it would be really helpful if that chart also showed what the ward populations were before the changes. And so those are two pieces that I think would be really helpful to the council to see, so that we can see exactly where the changes were made and what the distribution would be if we don't adjust, and what the proposed distribution is. So I'd like to make that request, Mayor.
Okay. So I think the population numbers are on the map.
The new distribution is, but it doesn't show what it was.
What it used to be,
Yes.
but it's only, maybe Lisa knows the details
Well,
better.
it's on the map from 2010, and I will send that to you so you can definitely see where the lines were changed and what the distribution of the numbers were.
That'd be great, because there's this weird little 1 block jog in the 4th ward that I was curious about.
Yeah, I'll send to you the actual census block data. Some of the blocks are quite difficult because some of them have have a big population count where some might only have 1 or 2. So yeah, we tried to even the jogs out as much as possible. They were a lot worse heading into 2010, then we were able to level out quite a few, but definitely we have some larger populations in certain blocks which account for that jog, but we'll definitely get you that information along with the census numbers so you can see that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
So, Mayor Shave,
Yes,
we have a second special agenda item. It's another report from the Community Development Director, recommending that the council authorize the mayor to bring forward an ordinance at the December 22nd, 2021 City Council meeting, updating the 2021 Comprehensive Land Use Plan. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. One more item.
Yep. So do you want to do the public hearing there? I can. This is the date set for a public hearing on the 2021 Comprehensive Land Use Plan to consider comments. I move we open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to open the public hearing on the Comprehensive Land Use Plan. Is there any discussion?
Yes,
Seeing
Mayor.
none, all
Mayor.
in favor? You had discussion, Lisa?
Yeah, I wanted to, is this just to open the public hearing, correct?
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry. I jumped the gun.
All in favor of the motion to open the public hearing, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is now open. Deputy City Clerk, was there any correspondence?
We have no correspondence regarding this matter.
Thank you. Lisa Scott.
Yeah, I'd like to just take this opportunity to introduce Rachel Miller from Makers. She's been with us this whole process as we've gone through updates to the comprehensive plan, numerous public meetings, and she wants to just do a quick overview of where we're at and just to give it a little context, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Rachel, I'll leave it up to you.
Thank you, Lisa. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Shave and council members for having me back again. It has been just a little introduction again for anyone that doesn't know me. I think we've seen all of you throughout the process. I'm Rachel Miller. I'm an urban designer and urban planner working for Makers. You all hired us to help you out with your comprehensive plan. It's been a really fun project for us. And I have to say, working with Lisa has been a real pleasure. Her knowledge and care for the city and the Aberdeen community has really been invaluable, as well as all of your and Planning Commission, the Historic Preservation Board, and many other active community members. So I'm really happy to be coming forward with a hopefully very near final plan, maybe even final for you all. And if it's all right, I will go ahead and give a little overview. It's a big plan, so the overview will seem a little vast, but I will go through it as quickly as possible so that we can all get to bed tonight at an okay hour. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so mostly I'm just sharing tonight, and for anyone listening in, how you can stay involved, because this plan is all about getting to an implementation stage. We've had a long process getting here. We're finally at the end. Most recently, we had a public workshop in November, mid-November, and now we've updated the plan based on what we heard then. So you now have the hopefully final plan, or close to final. So again, the end goal, just to remind us, this is a long-term blueprint for the future. It covers a lot of different topics, but it talks about how everything interrelates for land use and transportation especially, and many of the other topics you care about, and how a city runs well. So one thing that we do is, even though we step back from the day-to-day activities so that we can get to a higher level, it's all leading towards you being able to take this plan and implement it and create action plans using this as your guiding North Star. Once again, you all are really lucky to be in Aberdeen, this lovely small town with an intertwined community set in this incredible region. You have a lot of assets. Many of them are noted on this map. Hopefully most of you have seen them before, but lots of great things here, including many business and building type assets like the port and community college and hospital, and then also physical assets and the transportation assets, of course, being on the path for many tourists in the region and commerce in the region. There are also constraints and challenges, physical, and things like aging buildings downtown. Okay, so I'm going to try to fly through the comprehensive plan itself a little bit and highlight the major things that sparked discussion along the way, or things that we've updated since about the October draft. So things that are guiding the entire plan, and many of these slides will have where you can find them in the plan. So if you happen to be following along, look at the bottom left. I tried to put them there as often as possible. So Aberdeen is unique, and any decisions that city makes should be all about making sure your identity remains. Economic prosperity is a big guiding force. Human health, so making sure that whatever changes come along the way, people are happy and healthy. Environmental health, so natural environment can still function and work well and support all the other systems. Equity, again, so that everybody in Aberdeen can have a chance at life success. And resilience, so that no matter what comes your way, you can come back strong. And the framework goals, and this came from many of you all, having a unified vision. So we heard the phrase rowing in the same direction, that everybody's doing good work in Aberdeen, but that it would be nice to have a plan that pulls it all together and sets people in the same direction so that you can all work together on it. Functionality for supporting our best lives. So this just is about having a city that really works. Everything about it is working well together. And the phrase life is good here came up for you all, so that continues to be true. That it's people friendly, so that wherever people are living or working, it's easy to get around and comfortable and safe. And it's easy to have well-being and health. Regional coordination, this came up again and again, that it's really important that everybody in Grays Harbor and the region are working together. And public engagement, so that not just is this, a city staff plan or a city council plan or a planning commission plan, but that as you move forward and make decisions along the way, there is community engagement so that people are backing the city in any major public decisions. One of the driving forces in the comprehensive plan was this centers and corridors concept. And it's been interesting to watch how phases and trends change over time and what's considered really important in planning. And for a while, it was all about simplifying things. But now it's all about these 15-minute neighborhoods and being able to walk and bike and get to places in your neighborhood easily. And I think this trend was already starting before COVID, and then COVID made it even more obvious that it's really important, and communities are more resilient when they can reach their little grocery store, corner store, or a cafe, or whatever it is. And even if it's just a park, there's something that there's a place where you can see your neighbors get together, and maybe it also has amenities like you can buy an apple there. So we looked at the neighborhoods that have existed in Aberdeen. This is a traditional urban form. So it's going back to the type of the development that happened naturally along the way. So the pink circles show the little neighborhoods up the hill and in South Aberdeen. The darker pink circles show more commercial type centers, and the purple one, of course, is the port. Much of the plan's land use and transportation guiding principles were based on the centers and corridors map. We also filled out the green corridors map a little more since the last draft and highlighted some priority areas. And this was based on your input during, I think, the Planning Commission workshop a couple of months back. So that was the introduction chapter. Now we're getting into the land use element, which many people would say might be the heart of the comprehensive plan and drives a lot of decisions throughout the rest for transportation and services. One of the policies that was added a little bit later in this process, but that was in the background all along the way, was one on managed retreat. So this is a starting point to say, hey, we are considering this. We had a lot in the guiding principles and goals throughout about resilience. But here it is saying, you know what, from a land use perspective, this is something we need to think about. And when we're doing climate action planning, if you get the grants for it, or whenever you are thinking about your next phase of land use planning, this is something that you're starting to think about is, if there is a tsunami, what is the best path forward so that we have fewer people at risk? Protection from hazardous materials may have been the one policy that sparked the most discussion. The wording that we landed on is the same that you've already seen, so I won't talk more about this. But this wording seemed to hit the right note for you all on setting a direction, but leaving a lot of flexibility. So that's where that one landed. Connecting to the waterfront, this was already in there, but we strengthened it a little bit and just umped that up. Land use designations, the bigger changes, and maybe I'll just skip through all of them, but the bigger changes were that we did, as part of that managed retreat strategy, and again, it's not a fleshed out strategy yet, but I think it's something that you all are heading towards, is that if you are going to growing up the hill does make some sense. There are a lot of critical areas in what we're calling the open space residential area. So little residential could be allowed in those areas, but you got to be aware that there's a lot of critical areas and natural systems that you'd have to be aware of and take care of. But there are some places we've identified for residential high and residential low that just more outright shows the vision that, hey, you know what? There are some places up the hill outside of the utility corridor that could be developed and connect to the city. One thing we want to note about that, and I'll mention this when I fly through these land use designations, is that the residential high could also allow some services, some small cafes or grocery stores or something like that. And that if people are moving away from the water's edge at some point in time, that they should still be able to get to their services, especially if there actually is a tsunami and things are wiped out. So again, I'm gonna go through these really quickly because I think most of you have seen them, but downtown is the big red area, commercial corridors are the orange, your traditional commercial heart, and the commercial along the transportation corridors just logically makes sense. And then the flex industrial, the gray zones, and the waterfront, the blue zones, the blue one expanded a little bit here to capture a vision for connecting to the water better, and the waterfront zone is still quite flexible. Those are two flexible zones, but that still allow a lot of industry. Neighborhood center mixed use. This is how we are implementing the centers concept into land use designations. So the darker pink areas that you see on this map are where those landed. And the idea there is that there might be a little bit higher intensity development so that there are more people, so that if there are businesses that are neighborhood center type businesses, there are more people to support them. It also can make for safer and comfortable walking environments and places for people to be. Residential, these designations, the big change from perhaps older zoning or the last comprehensive plan is that these are intended to be more flexible than in the past. So even in residential low, there might be more types of housing than maybe were previously allowed in existing zoning. So for example, smaller lots could be allowed, or cottage styles, or duplexes or triplexes. And those kinds of nitty gritty details would be worked out during zoning code. But the vision, as it's stated in the comp plan, is to be a little more flexible in these residential areas. And then the flex residential designation is a newer one in this comp plan, but something that we've been talking about for the last quite many months now. So it's not a new concept, but the idea that the area between the port and Highway 101 and a handful of other areas where it just made sense, being near transportation corridors or in odd places that have a lot of industry already, can create a little more transition between port type uses and other areas. And that over time, they may slowly transition to more businesses, more commercial uses, but that it would be small scale types of things that wouldn't feel like a huge impact to residents while still being a piece of the managed retreat strategy, that moving people out of harm's way eventually. This is one way to slowly, incrementally let it happen naturally over time. The open space categories are divided into three: residential, which is this brighter lime green, open space conservancy, which is the more bluish green, and those are more like keep them as natural areas, more like how they are today. And then the open space parks is the darker green, and that's more of a traditional active city park type of place. Okay, chapter 3, the housing element. The main goals here are just about supply, variety, serving both residents and visitors, affordability, the eye for preservation and what historic preservation means to you all, and sociability. If you have a bunch of housing come in, but it doesn't actually support neighbors meeting each other, then it's not working, so design matters. And then also aging in place. That's such a big theme, it made it up into the goals for housing. The big change to this chapter is there's a new section on homelessness and housing security. And so this is actually part of this, a sidebar that was added that shows what the comp plan is doing to support these issues. And these are the new policies that were added. If anybody wants me to pause on this, I can. I know it's a lot of text on the screen. Okay, I'm gonna move on. So chapter 4, economic development. This was, economic development was one of the major goals you all asked us to make sure we addressed. So we have a good, healthy element here. And I have to admit, in the last few months, there's been almost no conversation about it because I think we hit it right with the earlier draft. So this is just repeating back to you all what you've already seen. These are the goals and the policy categories. But hopefully this is kind of that bringing you all together so that you're on a boat rowing in the same direction. Okay, chapter 5, the transportation element. One thing that's new about this comprehensive plan, but is typically found in other comprehensive plans and tends to be used by public works departments or your streets folks, are road classifications. And you all had traditionally just been using the WashDOT classifications. And this adds a little bit more detail and aligns the vision for the streets more closely with the centers and corridors concept, so that you're really connecting those neighborhood centers and planning for getting people up the hill, especially if this area does develop with housing or any other uses up there. So it's getting a little more detail and a basis for setting street and sidewalk design standards. So that is something that is typically found in cities, is having street and design standards that are tied to a streets classification. That's a new thing in this comp plan from what we understand. We did add some more, a policy about the downtown highway routing. It's very flexible. It's just continue exploring opportunities. But we did hear again that the downtown businesses, if there were not trucks flying by, and there was space for pedestrians to feel comfortable, and like there wasn't traffic, right next to them. We know there has been a lot of work gone into those streets, and they are quite improved. But the continuing to explore opportunities and perhaps shifting major traffic could still be beneficial to downtown businesses and the downtown environment. Chapter 6, the capital facilities element. This one also really just plays out, okay, if you're having this land use growth or change, or here's where your people are, what facilities do you need to support that? So these are the guiding principles. Most of these are implemented in your other plans outside of the comprehensive plan. So it relates to those other plans. We did add some policies about, or strengthened or highlighted the policies about tree canopy and street trees. So we made that stronger. Okay, so that was a big fly through. And Lisa, please feel free to jump in here on the next steps. But we are hoping for adoption of the comprehensive plan in late December or early January, however it works in your schedule. And for any members of the public listening in, the comp plan is your plan, and it gets implemented by people being interested and involved and being active and trying to, actually make those action items happen. So please join the planning commission or join city email lists so that you are still involved and know how it's working out.
Thank you, Rachel. Yes, I will say that this version of the comprehensive plan is online on the city website. Directions of how to get to it are on the front page. It's also attached to tonight's agenda, so it is out there for that as well. So still opportunities to make comments before final approval. So anyway, that guess open it back up, or it is open to the public hearing, sorry.
All right, I was muted. There aren't any comments that were written in. Are any hands up yet, City Clerk?
Nope.
Thank you.
Liz
Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you. During the comprehensive plan workshop process, there were several letters that were sent in for consideration, and I'm just wondering, would it be appropriate to include those as part of the hearing?
No, I don't believe so. I think because they were included as part of the discussion and were taken into account during the drafts. I think those would need to, if they wanted to have them submitted, send me an email. We could definitely do that during the ordinance process.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Councilmember Shaw.
Oh, I'll wait. We're still in the public hearing. I'm sorry.
Yep. Okay. Seeing no other discussion.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made, seconded to close the public hearing. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing's closed. Thank you, Rachel.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you all.
So we'll move on to item E under ordinances. Did you want to do that too, Deanne?
Sure. Council, tonight we have the first reading of bill number 2113, an ordinance redistricting the wards of the city of Aberdeen based on population information from the most recent federal decennial census. I hope I'm saying that right. Replacing chapter 16.12 in ordinances 3472, 3742, 4844, 4934, 5099, 5589, 5590, 6026, 6332, 6519, and amending chapter 1.06 of the Aberdeen Municipal Code. I move we approve the first reading.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the first reading of the redistricting of wards. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a reappointment that I'm very proud to make. It gives me great pleasure to ask for the council's approval to reappoint the Honorable Susan Solon as the municipal court judge for a term of 4 years.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to approve this reappointment. Is there any discussion?
Can we vote unanimously twice?
Sure. Seeing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, say aye again.
Aye.
Any opposed? The reappointment is passed twice. Thank you.
That's 8 years.
2 term.
Yeah, that would be fine with me.
Thank you, Judge Solon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would it be appropriate to say a few things?
What was that again? I'm sorry.
Would it be appropriate to make a short statement?
It would have, I would love for you to do that. You
Okay.
bet.
Very, very good. I just want to thank you, Mayor Shave, and the City Council for your vote of confidence tonight. I accept this appointment for a 3rd term, and I'm honored to do so. The past 8 years on the bench have been productive and rewarding, and I look forward to continuing to faithfully and impartially perform the duties of judge. Since I very recently apprised you of the court's activities during the budget process, I'm just going to keep my remarks short tonight, and I wanted to acknowledge the court staff and the wonderful work that they do. The court consists of 4 staff. We have 2 court clerks. Janeth Yasay has been with the court for over a year, and Nicole Lynch is new this year. Both are doing a great job learning the procedures of the court, and I'm grateful for their dedication. Jackie Watkinson is the assistant court administrator and has been working for the courts for over 30 years. Her experience has been crucial for smooth and seamless operations, and I am grateful for her dedication. And finally, Tammy Sund is the court administrator. She oversees every aspect of the court. It is a huge responsibility and requires an immense amount of knowledge and experience in very complex information systems and legal procedures. Tammy came to Aberdeen via several other courts, so we have benefited from her breadth of exposure to many different legal issues and court procedures. I cannot emphasize enough how fortunate the city of Aberdeen is to have the caliber of court administrator that we have in Tammy. I am grateful for her wise leadership and dedication, and I just think it's very important that you knew that this is your staff running the court. So in closing, it's been my pleasure to serve the city. I'm looking forward to continuing to serve, and I just thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Susan. Sorry to keep you up so late. I know
Oh,
you're a busy early riser.
I was checking the docket. We've got 109 cases tomorrow, so I'll be right back at it. So
Wow.
I'm busy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Next item is I'd like to appoint Randy Bierbauer, John Shaw, George Donovan, Mike Schmidt, and David Bilski to the Aberdeen Museum and History Board for 3-year terms. All of these have been on the board except for Dave Bilski. He volunteered to take a vacated seat, and I'm very proud to have them all back. So I would accept the.
I so move.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to appoint the mentioned to the museum board. Any discussion? Councilmember Short.
How many people are on that board?
There's two other, I think there's 2 others on the board.
Okay, so the majority of the board is up for election or appointment.
Yeah, I think these were the first ever appointed. They go back to the original appointments.
Okay, thank you.
That was going to be my question too. I thought at one point we had staggered terms set up so that there wasn't the whole majority of the board coming up at the same time.
We do. We have 2 other positions that are 2-year terms, and the council representative position is a 1-year term.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the appointments, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is, and help me out, Stacy, CO, Han Peterson, and Mike Stoddard and Fred Scott to the park board for 3-year terms.
I think it's Shaban.
The pronunciation is Shaban.
There's 2 different pronunciations of that name, and that one is Shaban, not Sibohan. I'm pretty sure.
Thank you. Was there a motion? I missed it.
So moved.
Motion was made and seconded to appoint to the park board, the 3 mentioned. In discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Next, moving on to city council comment period. Anybody on the council have any comments? Councilmember Andrews.
So in my, being thrown around in my council, I left out a part of my committee report. I forgot to mention the wonderful Aberdeen VIPs, the volunteers and police services that we've got. They provided, let's see, I had it just right here. So far in 2021, they've contributed 1,543.5 hours to the city of Aberdeen. At $15 an hour, that's $23,000 worth of service so far this year. And if anybody's going to the Montesano Festival of Lights this weekend, you will see about 8 of our volunteers out there directing traffic. So just letting you guys know, I left that out. So wave to them, got our signature yellow coats. And that's one thing I'm going to do, after my little term is over here. I'll be doing more of that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilmember Shaw.
I just wanted to ask a clarifying question about the timeline for the comprehensive plan. We had a public hearing tonight, and now we're going into the ordinance process. The second reading of the ordinance will also be a public hearing, correct?
Yes, that is public hearings for the ordinance itself. This was for the comp plan.
Okay, anyone else? Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to ask, since this is a 5-week month, did we want to talk about the last meeting and whether we're having it or not on the 29th?
Well, I was, yes, thank you for bringing that up. I was going to bring that up as well, since we adopted a budget tonight. Is it the wish of the council to cancel our meeting on the 29th? Or do we have any business that we need to be here for, Mayor?
Now that the budget passed, I'm not aware of anything else.
Neither. So I would move that we cancel our meeting on December 29th.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to cancel the December 29th council meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Is there any other city council comment? John Mackey.
Yes. This Friday night, the Grace Harbor College Bishop Center is having a concert, online concert, which features the Grace Harbor College Community Concert Band, of which I'm a member. And we have the Grace Harbor College Community Choir also performing. And maybe I think some other various groups. It's at 7 o'clock. And you can find on the Grace Harbor College Bishop Center website the link to watching the show. It's virtual, and the concert was actually performed on stage, but a virtual concert at that point. As we did virtual concerts in the last year or so, we actually did individuals recordings, and those were all put together by a gentleman here in town. That's I'm trying to think of his name. I don't know it now.
Dorsch.
But anyhow, I'm sorry.
Ian Dorsch.
That's exactly right. Yes, thank you. And it was done really well, but now this concert's going to be the whole band together. So it's going to really be a good concert. It's going to be good Christmas music and good choir Christmas music. And I invite everybody to come and hear us. Thank you.
John, what's that big horn you play called?
Sousaphone or a tuba?
The sousaphone. That's what I'm thinking of. It looks a lot like a tuba from a distance.
Well, no, a sousaphone, you wear it. A tuba, you play it. The tuba sits in your lap, where the sousaphone wraps around your shoulders.
Yeah, you kind of fit inside it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Interesting.
I played that since 5th grade, so I think I know how to do it by now.
Wow.
I'm going to speak out of order and echo at John's comments and say the college and the performing arts have gotten really good at these online concerts. You really should check it out. They're fun to have on at home when you're on a Friday evening. And so thank you, John, for being involved in that, because you guys have gotten really good.
Thank you. My daughter is actually the director of the band and takes care of all that business. She was hired by the college to take over the Grace Harbor Community Concert Band. And she's done it now. I think this is her 4th year, and she's done a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anyone else on the council? Seeing none.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adjourn. If nobody objects, we will be adjourned.
Good night,
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.